Hey, this is Erica Hill West with Lending Path Mortgage, your mortgage go-to gal. I've been in this crazy industry for over a decade. I also host a local radio show to talk all things mortgage, and I have the privilege of managing 5 local loan officers. And today, we're going to talk about, can you buy a house if you're self-employed? A lot of you have heard a lot of things, especially if you're self-employed, about how to show income, what mortgage companies look for, and how to be most successful in your mortgage process. But today, I'm going to tell you all the secrets. Stay tuned and find out how you can buy a house while being self-employed. This is a tricky topic, and there are a lot of facets, so I'm going to try to cover the most important. The reason why there are a lot of questions about how and if self-employed borrowers can qualify for a mortgage is because their employment and income type is not traditional. It's unlike any other person out there. When you're self-employed, you don't have W-2s. Sometimes you don't have 1099s. The only record of income verification we have is maybe a Google search, a bank statement that has your name on it, and what you claim on taxes and pay in taxes to the IRS. Those are going to be the big determining factors on how we calculate income and how we qualify self-employed borrowers for mortgages. Now, this also can get kind of uncomfortable because most people only buy a house a handful of times their entire life. But self-employed borrowers, they see their CPA every year. And they trust that CPA to take their business financial information and report it in a way that doesn't harm them financially. They want to show accurate figures of what their income is, but make sure that they have a conservative tax liability. That's what a CPA's job is to do. However, on the mortgage side, when we're looking at self-employed borrowers, the only income that we can use for qualification is the income that self-employed people claim as taxable income. So what that means for everybody else that's listening out there is you have gross receipts when you own a business, and then you have expenses. They get to deduct those expenses from essentially their gross receipts, and their taxable amount is at the bottom. There's also other things that they can write off and other things that they can do to make sure that they're keeping their tax liability reasonable, which everybody loves, right? However, on paper, and I say this all the time, doesn't mean that you can't afford the house that you want to buy. It's you don't show enough income on paper. And that's important verbiage. So self-employed borrowers, if you're thinking about purchasing or refinancing and you want a traditional mortgage, what I mean by traditional is you want a conventional or FHA, VA, USDA, construction loan. You want a traditional mortgage. Make sure that you talk with your CPA, your tax advisor, and you make sure that you plan out the next years so that we show enough income so that you can meet your mortgage goals, but also meet your tax goals. Now, as we were talking about self-employed borrowers, there's something else that we really have to discuss. If you're self-employed and you know that traditional financing options are not for you, never fear. There are non-traditional financing options out there for you, and I'm going to tell you just one of those options today. So the most frequently used non-traditional option for self-employed borrowers, it's called a bank statement loan. What that means is instead of looking at your tax returns to calculate income, we're going to take an average of deposits coming into most likely a business account over the last 12 months to calculate about how much income you have coming in. Now, since it's not a traditional product, you're not going to be subject to traditional rates. Because we're using traditional methods to calculate income to qualify you for a purchase, you're going to get non-traditional interest rates. That is a huge concern for a lot of self-employed borrowers, but hey, we all can't have our cake and eat it too. I'd love the lowest interest rate and love to pay the lowest in taxes, but sometimes those two things don't align. It's most important to look at all your options, make sure you weigh the pros and cons of traditional and non-traditional programs so that you can decide which one best suits your needs and will help you reach your financial goals. Guys, self-employed borrowers, great news. You most likely can qualify for a mortgage. Whether it's in the traditional avenue or the non-traditional avenue, there are tons of programs out there to help you reach your dreams of home ownership. If you are self-employed and you have more questions about either types of programs, we'd love to talk to you. Please leave your comments and questions below. And as always, like, subscribe, and follow us. If you're in the mortgage industry and you want to know more about joining our team, more about what sets us apart and makes us different, we'd love to hear from you. Please find our contact information below.